And we're live. Today I'm joined by Josh and Erika. Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Friday to everyone out there in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us live. You know, as we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live 11 a.m. Eastern time. Every time. Thank you to all listening on the podcast as well. We have a lot to talk about today. Happy Friday. The vibes are high. I'm feeling pretty good. But a quick summary of what we're going to be touching on today. We're going to talk about a little bit of media games being played, quite the gambit from the Democrats. So we're going to cover all the angles on that. We're going to talk a little GARM. That's a big win. Not many people know about it. Many people remember the Ben Shapiro clip of him being interrogated by a man who had relations with a spy. So that's the summation of that. And then also we have weird fanfic for Walz. I can't even get out that full sentence. It just makes me so uncomfortable. But
it's like a time twister.
We're going to have to talk about that. So, but as always, if you guys are here, you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I notice a lot of people that listen are not subscribed, but you have more fun in the live show. We got all kinds of good content on the channel. So hit that. Guys, how are we feeling on Friday?
I'm feeling great on Friday. I'm going on vacation, guys.
I don't want you to dox your vacation location, but
we're going to be Erika-less next week in the Loopcast.
How will you survive? You get Tinfoil Tom, you get Logan Church. It's going to be awesome. You won't even miss me.
I do love our
I don't know about that, but those are some good people.
We have like a rotating cast of characters at this point, and I kind of love it. Like, people are waiting for when we bring out Tinfoil Tom, who hilariously is quite the opposite of a tinfoil wearing. I'm so glad we stuck with that nickname. We got Logan.
I know you're really the.
You're actually the tinfoil Tom.
I mean, we didn't land on the moon. Are you sure? I'm an idiot. Give me a break.
Yeah, that's the and then Josh, you're doing a little road tripping soon too, right? You're gonna head out to Mary.
Yeah,
that's right. Heading out to see my family. The whole family, my whole family is going out to Minneapolis to see my family there. That's where I grew up, and maybe check in with the governor there, Walz.
Yeah, send your best.
Before I head on up to University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota, where I'll be dropping off my eldest. She'll be going there. It's a really good school. It's the school that, I mean, everyone talks about these traditional and very, good Catholic schools like the Franciscan Christendom and
the Notre Dame of the South, Ave Maria. Yeah.
Yeah, the Benedictine College, and then of course Ave, which is the Benedictine College of the South. And then now you got the University of Mary has joined this illustrious group of what their Newman Guide colleges. Frankly, that's what I said to all my kids. Like, hey, you're a free person now. You're on your own. But if you want any help from mom and dad, you're picking a school in the Newman Guide here.
Yeah.
The Newman Guide is put up by the Newman Society, the Cardinal Newman Society. Great organization. I've been friends with those guys for a long time.
Fantastic.
And they put together this guide of because you hear, oh, it's a Catholic school. It's like, okay, is it Catholic? I mean, come on. I mean, you don't want to go to something like Fordham, which is zero. It's
I don't think anyone would accuse Fordham
Catholic,
of being a Catholic school at this point. Yeah.
So.
Well, that's cool. Someone had we were talking before the show, maybe we'll do a segment of the show where we get a selfie video from Josh of just like send him a question we know will rile him up. And then during the show be like, yeah, we asked Josh, here's what he has to say. And it's just Josh strolling around Mary, like screaming into his phone. That could be a fun part of the show.
I think that'd be a banger of a segment, as the kids would say.
That would actually require our host to actually read viewer email.
What do you mean?
Which he does.
Like, you never read the email anymore. You're like, I got a whole lot of emails I never got through.
What are you talking about? I just want to respond to a bunch of people.
Hardly.
What are you talking about? That is an outrageous accusation. I was just emailing a bunch of people.
You read the emails
yesterday.
and then never ever put any of them on the air? Like, what? Come on, man. You got to share this stuff. Like every 17 episodes, you're like, here's an email from Teresa. Like, you never hear any of this stuff. How do I think you're making it up. Like, you don't read this stuff.
I feel like we're having a planning meeting on air.
Are you Kamala Harris-ing me?
I'm calling you out, brother.
He doesn't care.
I literally read an email last episode. This is like Kamala Harris playbook. It's just like total gaslight lie. And then just rely on your cult following to
No, I said
me.
You won every 17 episodes. You did one last episode, so you're not planning on doing it for another 3 months. That's what I'm saying, man.
All right, we'll see if the chat backs me up on that one. I feel like I'm in the clear, but Yeah, we got a show to get to today. That was a lot of banter for us. We're usually pretty show focused. So yeah, we start out Friday energy. We start out with some media games. So the first thing that was kind of put this whole on the radar was two things happened. We had a Trump press conference yesterday, and then Wednesday, JD Vance's plane actually crossed paths with Air Force Two. And JD Vance took that opportunity to make a point that I think I've been thinking about, but it was a good way of setting it up. So I'm going to share that video here now.
Because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No?
I couldn't even talk to him.
Anybody?
I mean,
I have a new idea, free advice for JD Vance. Basically, follow the Vice President Harris around the entire country and do this every day.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
All the time. I think this is awesome.
I mean,
the reporters are like, like they didn't even know how to react to him coming up and asking them questions. It was awesome.
Well,
then you had some of the fangirls of Kamala Harris like, this is a secret service. This is not just have anyone randomly come in. Look, he's a United States senator. She's the president of the Senate as the vice president. They both have Secret Service detail. Like, stop pretending like this is anything like dangerous or unseemly. It's not like some random guy coming up to the plane, you idiots.
Right.
Like the Secret Service guy's like, we're rolling closer to like, come on.
Well, from my perspective, so I'm watching this event play out, and you would think that, someone running for president has done a decent amount of hand-to-hand combat when it comes to media. If Kamala Harris is on that plane and is seeing JD Vance making a spectacle outside the plane, you would think even if she just let it go and she just let him walk on and do his thing, which she did, that she would come out of the plane and say something to the media that he's taunting her to, right? And so I watched the rest of this exchange.
Why would she?
I'm just saying from a basic instinct of like a normal human being, like I think most people probably would. I mean,
the corporate media is carrying water for her. They're not requiring her to do anything. She's going to keep this going.
I understand, but she got off that plane and she didn't say a word to any of those reporters, even though they were shouting questions at her and Governor Walz. And then she like used these Girl Scouts as kind of a human shield almost. Like she went up to Girl Scouts, greeted them, talked to them as the media is screaming questions at her and just walks away. And that just brought up a larger question to me. I mean, Kamala Harris has not talked to media, sat for an interview, taken a question in 19 days. Are we on 19 or 20? I think
we're on 20 today. I'm keeping track with Ben Shapiro.
But she said she would schedule an interview by next month. Oh, whoa.
That's right.
Whoa. So like, what is it? Is it going to be scheduled for 2025? I mean,
oh my gosh. She's like, by the end of the month, I will sit down for a full interview. I promise, guys. Just got to get through the DNC. Yeah, it'll be some shill at ABC gets this exclusive interview with her. She knows all the questions ahead of time, and it's all scripted. And it is amazing to me. I mean, even as someone who watches the media pretty closely, like this is our job, I have still just been stunned. I have so few words about the machine that has just kicked in to protect this woman and to just craft her image, put it out there, and she doesn't have to do a darn thing because they just have it all in the background. Same thing with Walz being just immediately touted as like America's dad and Mamala. And they don't have to answer any tough questions. That's all we have.
I got from Michelle.
There's a reason for this, though.
But
there's a reason.
Josh, let the people speak. I have from Michelle in the chat. She said she repeated the exact same speech in Michigan and Wisconsin. At least try to mix it up. Sheesh.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't, like, I don't care about using the same speech. Like, they're just going to do that. It's the refusal to answer any media questions at all. It's hiding behind the teleprompter. It's allowing, she flipped positions on everything she's ever said. But the way that they do it is they get her campaign press people to put out these statements like late Friday afternoon being like, now she's pro-fracking. Now she's going to help with the border. Now she's XYZ. And nobody notices because she doesn't say what she thinks. She doesn't have to, because it doesn't matter what she thinks. That's the whole point. She is the figurehead that they have chosen to get behind. And it doesn't actually matter what she thinks, what she has said. And they are banking on this so they can float this honeymoon for 3 months right through the election. And America is too stupid to know what's happening to them.
Oh, careful now.
I didn't say I'm quoting the media.
Okay.
I'm quoting the machine.
What
Sorry,
say you?
Don't clip that. Like
what say you, Oracle of Petoskey?
I mean, first of all, I didn't hear what you said there.
What?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I just said, what say you?
Well, I mean, look, this is I mean, I'm not surprised by this. What's going on here is, in fact, you have sort of like the media voices. Okay, so the media, there's thought leaders, okay, amongst the journalism field. And there's this pretty profound article that just came out like the last day or two. And it's Margaret Sullivan. She writes for The Guardian, and this guy, Jay Rosen, who's at NYU, New York University. It's like a beachhead for journalism. And these guys are out there and they're saying, they're basically advocating conclusion first journalism, because what they're concerned about and what they're worried about is that if you give Donald Trump, quote, a platform, right, then he's going to be allowed to put out his views, which are terrible. And, you know, obviously Donald Trump can't be elected president in their mind. We have to stop that. So they're calling on the media to not give any opportunity or platform for Trump to get his message out. Their idea is we need to suffocate Trump from getting any oxygen, from getting any ability to connect and communicate to voters, because we need to prevent him from winning. And their basis for this was that, you know, in the 2015, 2016 run up to that election, CNN, MSNBC, all these other networks gave a ton of media coverage to Donald Trump with the express hope that he would sink the Republican Party. It backfired and he got elected president. And so they're like, now we got to make sure this guy doesn't get anything. Don't cover his press conferences. Don't cover his speeches. Don't communicate in any way. And in fact, try to prevent him from getting any platform. So when Donald Trump went to the Black Association of Journalists conference there in Chicago last week, they were furious. They're like, how dare you give him a platform? We need to deplatform Donald Trump. We can't let him get his message out. And it's like, well, wait a minute now. First of all, you can't really prevent him from communicating. He's got several $100 million. He's going to be able to get his message out on TV through ads. He's going to be giving speeches all across the country at rallies. And through social media, he's going to be able to connect with his voters all he wants to. So all you're advocating by this kind of deplatforming process is saying, don't have NBC or ABC or CNN interview Donald Trump. Don't ask him any questions or whatever. And it's like, well, actually, then that means 100% of the content that you get from Trump is going to be, you know, without any adversarial questions. And it's like, you're basically advocating that the media treat Donald Trump the way the media is treating Kamala Harris. It's kind of weird because
it's really weird,
because Kamala Harris is communicating in speeches to her voters through ads, through social media, and she's not taking a single hostile or adversarial question from any media outlet. This is no way to pick a leader of the free world. We need both of these candidates to go under the gun. And Donald Trump has made himself available. I mean, talk about going into the lion's den. He goes into a Association for Black Journalists questions. I mean, they were hounding him. And he's been on, you know, he's made himself available to CNN, to Fox, to whoever. But this trend that we're seeing now with this article, these sort of ombudsman, these journalism professor types, it's a dangerous thing. They really think, wait a minute now, if we report on the news and treat the candidates equally, fairly, and say, ask them each questions, tough questions, the results might be that the American people might pick the wrong person for president. Therefore, we need to lean on the scales of justice. It's
right.
like, it's just It's just nice to actually, in one sense, that they admit they're completely dishonest charlatans, I guess.
Yeah, I've actually noticed something, and I'm curious if you noticed this too, Josh. I'm going to do a quick screen share. So she was in Michigan giving a speech, and if you can see, and everyone in the chat can see as well, here's Kamala. Here's she said, if you keep speaking like that, Donald Trump's going to win, kind of like finger wag. But if you notice
So who is she saying that to?
To protesters.
There's protesters, Hamas protesters.
Yeah. But that's not even really my point, although that's kind of cringe and reminds me of Hillary Clinton. From a photographer perspective, if you look at the background, it has a shallow focus on the lens. So there's a bokeh, a blur on everyone behind them, which makes it look more cinematic. And I saw someone from the left actually praising this, saying, wow, her campaign looks like cinema. Like it's the little things that make a difference here. Wow, they're doing such a great job. But then I was reading into it and I was like, well, there's a reason why they have everyone in focus typically behind for a philosophical reason of showing the supporters that are behind her, but then also to communicate how many people are behind her. That's how it's traditionally always been. And honestly,
their expressions. And their signs and expressions.
It just made me think even more so how fake and propagandized this campaign feels, that they need to make it like a movie, which everyone understands movies to be fake. Like this is not a real representation of life. Of course, there's creative liberties, etc.
Yeah, it's not unscripted. It's not raw.
Right. It's not unscripted. And that is the definition of the Trump campaign is raw and unscripted. I mean, he's taking meetings with live streamers, like people you never think would show up with Trump. Bryson DeChambeau, another great example. And I just think this is just a test. This election feels to me a test. Can we use the media machine, hide a person, and win? And it feels like they've already done that with Biden, who, for example, he's still the president, by the way. If you guys have forgotten, he's still the president of the United States.
I forgot he was still there.
Completely disappeared off the map. And then if you go back to take a look at his schedule this week. I mean, leader of the free world, Josh, you said this is no way to pick the leader of the free world. This is what the free world leader is up to right now. Schedule for this week, he took one phone call on Monday, nothing Tuesday, Wednesday, one phone call and a ceremony on Thursday, then off to the beach house. I mean, if this is a CEO of a major company, they'd be fired yesterday. When's the last time you've heard Biden's name? When's the last time you've seen his picture? He's the president right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth kind of pointing out, we all realize that President Biden had dementia, right? So, and the Democrats kind of looked the other way, and then they kind of just replaced him. I mean, there's the whole discussion about he's too senile and old to stand trial, so we're not going to prosecute him. He's got dementia. He's kind of half there. We have to drug him up to be able to communicate to them all. And it's like, oh, okay. And we're just going to swap him out for Kamala Harris. She's a communist from California. And it's like, wait a second. He's still the president of the United States. How are we allowing this to happen? And you're just totally covering up the fact that the guy has no marbles left. I mean, and he can't communicate, and he walks around like a Roomba. This is crazy. It just how are we just kind of it's amazing to me how we're just kind of sweeping that under a rug. And again, the assassination attempt on a presidential candidate, another story, just kind of sweep it under the rug. That happened less than a month ago. How are these things not talked about at all? It's just absolutely stunning. I mean, if again, I hate to say this because it's such a
tired trope
thing, but it's if the roles were reversed, or if a Democratic presidential candidate was almost assassinated, boy, we'd be hearing about political violence every day. Oh, January 6th. And I mean, give me a flipping break. Now, you notice the Democrats don't talk about political violence so much anymore because, one of their whack jobs tried to kill our presidential candidate.
Right. It's suddenly not cool to talk about that now. Moving on. Yeah, I think the thing that makes me the angriest is turning an audition into president of the United States into this scripted preset, no difficult questions, shield her from anything that might challenge her. Is that the job of president, the job of the leader of the free world, as we keep saying, is probably the most unscripted job. that there is, because and it has the most real world implications because of the power that you wield. I mean, how unscripted is the Middle East right now? Nobody knows what comes next in that play. What's going to happen next with China and Taiwan? Like, you can't plan for that. And yet, as president, that's what you're called to do. You get the 2 a.m. call, and you need to be up and at it and be able to think creatively and work with people and respond. She is not demonstrating that she can even respond to friendly reporters right now, much less to a world level climatic event. I mean, it is so irresponsible, and it's so, let them eat cake, which Marie Antoinette never said, by the way. But it's of that thing.
No, I mean, I feel like, again, Trump is masterful on media strategy. So I do have to give him some credit for this, because you'll remember about a week or so ago, he's like, well, I never agreed to the debate with Kamala for September 10th. I didn't agree to that at all. That was with Biden. That's not me. You're not Biden. So I didn't agree to that. So I want to do a debate with you. And then so he's kind of, not talking about that. And then Kamala's like, oh, are you afraid to debate? Why don't you debate? And then he's like, well, how about this one on Fox News? And she's like, I didn't agree to that one. Let's do the September 10th. He goes, okay, I'll do the Fox one. I'll do September 10th. And I'll do a third one. And now she's sort of boxed in, like, okay, you kept calling him like a wussy for not accepting the one debate. Now he's agreed to the one that you said to, plus another one, and then asked you to do a third. Are you going to be the one now to chicken out because you made such a big deal about how he was afraid to debate you?
So on that debate, so we're locked in now. He officially has accepted it, and it's going to be happening September 10th. Now, I guess this gives me pause, because understanding in context, the last debate kind of felt like a setup. Like, Biden did so poorly, it felt like they trotted him out there to fail. So if there's that kind of manipulation behind the scenes, what do you think this debate is going to look like here between Kamala Harris and Trump? I mean, what's a winning strategy, would you say, for both sides?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that Donald Trump needs to worry about is, our coworker has brought this up before, that it's Kamala, people misinterpret what Kamala Harris does when she does that cackle laugh. It's actually kind of a nervous laughter, and she's not sure what to say or what to do. And so she kind of fills the time with this kind of nervous laughter. But the other thing that she does is she gets in girl boss mode. So when she was in that debate with Vice President Pence, she just basically said, excuse me, I'm talking now. And I just find that to be completely repulsive, because I don't think he was being disrespectful at all. And of course, everyone loved it. And Mike Pence came off as like this, old white dude that's like, stuck in time 40 years ago. And so she was able to, like, quote, dunk on him, and everyone loved it. So Trump's got to have a response for that. Now, in general, his response, Mike Pence was sort of like, I mean, what kind of looking at her like, what are you talking about? I'm not being disrespectful. We're having a debate here. What the hell are you talking about? But he was just so, the old style 2005 Republican, where he's like caught flat-footed and didn't really know what to do. I think he's a viper. Trump's going to go on the attack and be like, he'll just, come back with some zinger. It might be stupid, but he's not going to sit there twiddling his thumbs, caught flat-footed like Pence did. But he has to be ready for it. He has to have some reason. And I would prefer if, instead of just throwing out some attack or a name calling, if he just kind of showed that Trump confidence, like, hey, what are you afraid of? Just answer the question. Like to have the confidence to know that you're going to win the debate. I think that's a better way to do it. Not to be, throwing insults necessarily. I mean, you can joke a little bit. I don't have a problem with that, but.
Yeah, I hope he stays away from the, like, is she black or Indian line, right? That we saw at the Black Journalists Conference that he dropped. I hope he can really drill down and really I would like to see more of the Trump that we saw on the Biden debate stage, which was more measured, more focused on, he let a couple of zingers drop, but he really just let Biden hang himself. And that was not hard to do, because Biden is a walking cadaver. But Trump was able to make some really serious policy points, call out the failures of the Biden administration, which are legion. And he has a winning platform. I mean, he had a great record as president in these certain metrics that people care most about: immigration, inflation, the economy, religious freedom. So I hope that he can show that restraint and measured. And again, like you said, Josh, just let her cackle and then be like, why are you laughing so hard?
I call it the Jim from The Office strategy. You just make a face kind of point, but like,
just look at the camera.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Like,
but yeah, I guess this is going to be, it feels very high stakes because with the Biden situation, they were literally able to hide the fact that he had pretty high level dementia for 6 months, 7 months. And then it all came crumbling down at the debate. So this could be a similar situation where they've hid Kamala for how, they're saying she's not going to do an interview till Labor Day and can't hide on the debate stage. I mean, it is with a friendly outlet, but there's still an element of like, yeah, you could do something so catastrophic it could change people's perception of you. In the case with Biden, that for sure happened. Kind of melt under the lights. So moving on here, this is bigger than I think people are giving it credit for. So we have the fall of GARM, and GARM is a funky name for basically this cabal of advertisers, and they were sued by Elon Musk and some others over antitrust suit because they control
the Global Alliance for Responsible Media.
Right. And they control a lot of ad placements. And the argument was, hey, they're unfairly discriminating against conservative outlets, free speech outlets in the case of Twitter. And it sure looks like it was damning. So Erika, I know you were looking into the GARM situation. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I think this is a really big story. And so what happened was this week, this is sort of the end. I'm going to start at the end and take you back to the beginning. So GARM has announced it is discontinuing its activities for the World Federation of Advertisers. The CEO said in his email that the decision to shutter GARM was not made lightly, and he cited the initiative's status as a nonprofit having limited resources. GARM, just for those, again, to put a few more points on this, this is why it's important. It represents dozens of the world's largest companies, including Disney. They represent Coca-Cola. And as a cabal, as a trust, really, they control 90% of global marketing spending. 90, not 19. It amounts to nearly $1 trillion per year. Here's the catch. To qualify for membership, and I'm quoting from Daily Wire here, advertising firms had to pledge not to place advertisements alongside harmful content like misinformation. Does anyone want to guess what some examples of misinformation might be? Well, things like lab leaks, laptops, things like, masking, questioning vaccine effectiveness, all this sort of things you would expect from a left-wing organization. So following the House Judiciary Committee met, we covered Ben Shapiro's testimony there, where he was just drilled by our friend in California over, why he believes adultery is bad. It was really weird. But he was there to testify how GARM had harmed Daily Wire through this garnering of all this power to withdraw advertising from them. And the report that the House Judiciary Committee came out with shows a coordinated effort to suppress online free speech and to restrict ads to a slew of news outlets, all of them conservative, including Elon Musk's X, formerly known as Twitter, Daily Wire, Rumble, the New York Post, right? Remember that pesky Hunter Biden laptop story? And others of the same ilk. So one example of just how bad this was, the House Judiciary, Jim Jordan obtained internal emails from GARM. Their CEO, Robert Rakowitz, he was bragging to his company that because of them, X was 80% below revenue forecasts. 80%.
Okay, that's like the closest thing you could possibly get to a smoking gun.
Right. And this, Rumble also brought a lawsuit this last week saying that GARM broke antitrust laws by facilitating collusion between companies that otherwise would be competitors. Jeez. So GARM, facing this lawsuit from Elon Musk, facing the damning House Judiciary Committee report, knowing they're going to lose, just decided to close its doors, which is an example of something getting done.
So,
and I love it when people get stuff done.
Because I'm dealing with this personally when it comes to like promoting the Loopcast. Yeah. Like we're all over the place and we really should. We've been trying to pour more into the Twitter account, but we need to get that going. But one place that I do a lot of work on is Instagram. Like I'm trying to reach people with the type of content we talk about on the show in the format that people like. So on Instagram, it's kind of these Reels formats, and Meta's been
where the ladies are.
Where the ladies
what
are,
can
yeah.
I say?
But Meta's been very clear. We are not doing political content. Like, we're going to throttle all political content. And I'm like, okay, like, if you mean that seriously in an unbiased way, fine. But so I made a reel basically on what we were talking about before when JD Vance went to the plane. And I was like, okay, I'm just calling out the fact, Kamala Harris hasn't taken interviews in 20 days. She has no policy section on her website. Like, no one really knows what she believes. They're running the shadow campaign. Sure enough, like, I'm working with my social media manager, and she's like, hey, the views just froze on this. Like, this is very unusual. I've never seen something freeze just like this. I mean, maybe not never, but it's an obvious sign of throttling. So I was like, that's weird. Like, so I look, you can look up in the trending section on Reels of topics. So I looked up Kamala Harris. I looked up Donald Trump. I looked up Tim Walz. And to their credit, I look up Kamala Harris, things are pretty low. Like, they're not in the millions. Typically, if you're looking on a trending section, you see things in the millions. There's more in the 100,000s. I was like, okay. I look up Trump, same thing, 100,000s. But I look up Tim Walz, and anything related to Tim Walz was like millions and millions and millions. I mean, we're talking big time millions. I look up JD Vance, same thing, super throttle. And I'm like, okay, it'd be one thing if you're being honest and you're saying, okay, we're throttling everything. I see rates in the same, but it's clearly not the case. And you look over at Twitter, and I remember Elon Musk genuinely saying out loud, he's like, if a advertiser wants to hold a gun to my head, go F yourself. Like, this is a free speech platform. I'm not going to be beholden to these cabals of advertisers trying to tell me what to do. Like, I'm trying to run a free speech platform. And everyone looked at him like he was a maniac, that he was shooting himself in the foot. He's cutting all the employees that he needed. He's making the advertisers mad. And then you see something like this, where they literally, not figuratively, literally have a advertising gun saying, bragging, hey, we brought down revenue 80% because we just trying to kill this thing. I really think that the purchase of Twitter is people are going to look back and see that as a huge turning point for free speech.
I mean, and again, it's just like this, what you're talking about, this alliance against speech, this advertising alliance. It's in many ways similar, I think, to BlackRock. The idea behind BlackRock is let's have a mutual fund, and we'll score ESG score, environmental score, DEI score, and basically try to transform companies into becoming, climate change, pro-Marxist DEI kind of crap by using, investments as a way to do it. And they know that they have, BlackRock has the approval to do this because they have large, pensions that they control of state employees and stuff like that. So they're able to try to manipulate, and they've been able to change the market. It's almost like a lever. I mean, it's not that BlackRock doesn't have a lot of money. They do, but they're able to basically coerce and control organizations to change their minds and adapt to different policies in the same way that the Human Rights Campaign did. Basically intimidate every business as saying, you're not pro-gay enough, you're not pro-trans enough. So we're having these outside groups like, that are basically transforming corporate America. I mean, like, in case anyone out there is listening and just assumes, oh, okay, corporate America, I mean, all they care about is money, and they're probably by default like country club Republicans who want taxes lower and regulation lower. It's like, dude, wake up. This is not 1985 anymore. A lot of these corporations have gone along with BlackRock. They've gone along with Human Rights Campaign. They've gone along with this GARM advertising cabal, which thankfully is now kind of fallen along the wayside. But all these organizations need to come crumbling down. And I'm not, again, it's one thing. I mean, it's one thing if these businesses were like, all we care about is providing profit to the shareholders.
No, they don't.
Okay, I guess. But I certainly don't want them to contribute to the downfall and the destruction of our country, which is what we're seeing with all these DEI policies. And
we need to get back some Teddy Roosevelt trust busting, Josh.
Yeah,
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
With a big stick.
I mean, like my libertarian days, I was like, oh my gosh, why do we have these trust busting? And then all of a sudden you look around and like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, then I grew up and I'm like, yep.
Why did we give these guys a tax cut, a corporate tax cut 4 years ago? I mean,
I've even personally just been observing like the business end of things. It's crazy to see. I think I was watching a documentary on this, like Google and I think, do they call them FANG? It's like Google, Meta, I forget the name, but basically
the big four, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft.
What they do now is anytime there's a startup that is interesting to them or threatening to them, or maybe not even really just interesting, they will go in and they'll offer investment and then put a seat on their board. And with that seat on the board, they can observe their activities. And so they basically then retain the power. Hey, I can either buy this entire thing or kill it whenever I want. And that's why we haven't seen, the next breakthrough innovative companies. The only example I could say maybe is going to be AI. But even look at what's happening at AI. Like Microsoft bought up a bunch of AI. OpenAI, I think, was bought by Microsoft. So you're getting all these mergers again. So there's ways for the same group of people to stay in power more than ever, partially because of the internet. And yeah, I think we need to go break them up. There's no reason they should have this much market share.
Are so influential and powerful. The only thing in the world that can really rival them is the United States federal government.
Yeah. Oh man, talk about the biggest business of all time.
Yeah. But nobody's running it right now. So,
well,
Google's
no,
the deep state's
running it. Yeah.
There's no figurehead right now.
That took out Nixon.
Yeah, there's no figurehead right now. But yes, coworker just sent me something that they're tailing Tulsi Gabbard right now. She's on the watch list.
They're tailing her?
Yeah, they had FBI agents on her. Crazy times. Deep state is real.
Twilight Zone times.
Not yet.
But it's not yet.
All right. So other topics that we have in Virginia. Someone sent this to me and I couldn't believe it. So Virginia just scrubbed over 6,000 registered non-citizen voters.
Non-citizen voters.
We're not.
I mean, hello.
That's not insignificant. 6,000.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about like some states being 10,000 votes determines the winner. 6,000.
Michigan was 10,000, 11,000 votes in 2016 separated the winner from the. I mean,
and they have more people than Virginia. I mean, this is proportional.
Yeah. So we get this executive order from Youngkin over in Virginia. Comprehensive election security protecting legal voters and accurate counting. I hereby issue this executive order to protect the casting of legal ballots by legally eligible voters in Virginia's elections, including with stringent ballot security, complete and thorough counting, machine testing, and best in the nation voter list maintenance. I feel like this should be a little bit more of a priority for some other places.
I got to tell you, Donald Trump should have used if he gets elected, use the power of the federal bureaucracy to basically force states to have to implement this, or they lose funding for, transportation, for freeways, for Medicaid, whatever. Come up with anything. Yeah. Just say, look, you have to do this. This needs to be 50 states.
Yeah, no question.
And they will scream. They will scream like piggies.
Yeah, I love Did you see NPR's headline on this? NPR's headline was.
Oh no, I didn't. This was actually
last year. So last year, Youngkin started this process, and in 2023, he scrubbed nearly 80,000 deceased voters from the voter roll.
Oh, that's the Democrat base.
Yeah. I know, right? It's tough. They love their cadavers. I mean, just animate them a little bit.
I mean, my grandpa was a lifelong Republican. Now that he's dead, he's been voting Democrat ever since.
But the way that All Things Considered reported it was, quote,
I got that.
thousands of Virginians were mistakenly removed from voter rolls before election. And yeah, were there some mistakes on the during that process? I'm sure. But the story, guys, is that there were still 80,000 dead people voting. That's the story. Like,
they missed
that.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. NPR wasn't telling you everything that happened. They were trying to hide the lead story. Oh my gosh, what a shock.
Objective taxpayer-funded media. Like,
I feel like we've picked up a lot of new listeners lately. Maybe people don't remember my rants on the NPR CEO being a total fed. I mean, there's no question in my mind that this Catherine Maher is a fed. She's totally a fed. She was a part of color revolutions in the past.
You know what we should do?
What?
Okay, here's another free idea for the Trump campaign. You get elected president, brother. Put Tucker Carlson in charge of NPR.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he already has the largest podcast on Spotify. He just passed Joe Rogan. Yeah. And someone mentioned this in the chat. I think this is true. Like, it's smart of Trump and people to go on podcasts. Like, podcasts and YouTube and social media have completely changed politics. Like, there's a reason Kamala Harris has not sat on a podcast ever. I don't even, other than when she went on the Breakfast Club and she laughed when she said that she put people in jail for for marijuana crimes, but used to smoke all the time back in the day. Like, she will implode. Most people implode on podcasts because they have to be authentic. They can't read off cards. And so you get like the Trumps and that's why RFK Jr. is a compelling candidate to a lot of people. He's been super open. He's gone on every podcast. He's talked to everyone. Now, has he said some crazy things? Yes, but at least he's honest. And I think people appreciate that.
I do.
You like the story about him dropping a dead bear in
I did.
Central Park?
I loved the bear cup story. I was like, that's who did it.
Oh man, RFK, man.
You know, by the way, everyone was you and Brian were like, oh, well, you watch out. RFK might get a lot of really good poll numbers.
He will. I still think he will.
You know what happened? You know where he's at right now? He's like at 3.5. Oh,
on what poll?
Maybe the Oracle Petoskey noticed what he's talking about. He may end up getting like 2.8% after all. And I'll be proven right.
I actually think he's going to drop out and endorse Trump. There's been talk of that. I think he will.
That would be amazing.
I think he will.
That would be helpful.
You've heard it here first. If he drops out and endorse
I'll give
Trump,
you credit if that happens.
And I'll take it.
I would say I would give that a decent 2 in 5 chance.
2 in 5 chance, yeah. Because I think he could actually.
Because I think before with Biden in the race, he's like, you know, Trump's going to win anyway. But now it's actually getting kind of closer, obviously. And if you look at the polling averages, again, this is what been now 2.5, almost 3 weeks now, where the mainstream media, the corporate media have given Kamala Harris a total, you know, honeymoon, and it's a sugar high. I've been calling it that. And so you think to yourself, okay, so what is the average now? If you average the polls, where are we standing? And how much is she leading by? 5 points? Half a point.
Oof.
That's it. Okay, well, if that's the end result on election day, if she is up on the national of all the votes in the country, if she's leading by half a point, she loses. She needs to win the nationwide vote by 4% to be able to win enough swing states. So
I hope you're right.
She'll probably get another bounce. She's got the convention coming up. There'll be another bounce, you know.
Erika, what happens when you give toddlers too much sugar?
They either fall promptly asleep or they go
before they crash, right?
Before they crash, yeah.
Yeah, the crash. Why did you give your toddler too much sugar, Pogo?
Actually, that did happen recently.
Yeah, it's a non-family vacation. Sometimes the grandparents are there. Yeah. Sorry, Janet, I'm outing you.
Sometimes, you know, they don't get the organic juice box, and that annoys my wife. So it's a little crazy, and then he crashes. So we'll see. Then he starts cackling like Kamala, and it's all over from there.
Yeah, Kamala has a lot of sugar in her system. I just hope she crashes before Election Day.
We got a lot of people in the chat saying that we should have Trump on the Loopcast. Should I just call him up and say,
yeah, let's call him. You got him on speed dial, right, Josh?
I heard.
Yeah, right. Although I'd like to have, hey, we should invite both campaigns.
That's right. Hey, not only are we inviting Trump on the podcast, Kamala, if you want to come do your first interview in 20 days, Loopcast, we're here for you.
Open invite.
Totally an open invite. I'd love to talk to her about some of her positions.
I even invited a guy who was with, you know, we had fun with that on the last segment with the website stuff where you type in Catholics for Kamala.com, CatholicsForKamala.org. I actually asked the guy who's just publicly out there for Catholics for Kamala. I said, dude, come on the podcast. Let's go. You know, let's we'll give you free reign. We're not afraid.
Oh, the John guy? Is it John Hale or Chris Hale?
I'm not going to get his name. I'm not going to say his name now because he chickened out. But
come on, man.
Wait, Josh, you're not going to bring
up... It's not John. It's Chris Jolly Hale.
Wait, are you going to bring up Catholic Spraying or no?
No.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
When we have like a, you know, Loopcast Insider show where we get all the fun details. But no, it's hey, come on the program, and he didn't take the invite. But you know, hey, look, we'll have Kamala or Tim Walz come on the show. If Donald Trump wants to come on, JD, brother, come on.
Oh, JD.
We've reached out to JD. That was before he was vice president, for sure.
Vice presidential candidate, yeah.
Right. I think he got a little busy or something.
Yeah, something like that. No, JD's a good guy. I was there when he got elected. Chill dude. Okay, we move into the Twilight Zone now. Josh, you're up first.
Well, I mean, look, you know, this just again bothers me. I did not enter into military service myself, but my sister, my brother, my father, my grandfather, all have joined the military. And so this whole controversy over Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the vice presidential pick for Kamala,
Stolen Valor,
Stolen Valor stuff. And then, okay, so here's the amazing thing about this. Again, I just want to remind our listeners, you do not hate the corporate media enough.
I knew this was coming. All right, do you want to play the clip?
Breonna Keeler attacked J.D. Vance in his military service in order to defend the stolen valor lies of Tim Walz.
You ready?
Let's go. Roll the tape.
I also think that J.D. Vance, as a messenger on this, may be an imperfect messenger, because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat, which certainly the title combat correspondent kind of gives you a different impression. So he may be the imperfect messenger on that. But I also think that...
Come on now.
Okay, so here's another link I just put in there. You can click just to give you an idea of how much of a piece of crap this woman is for saying that. If you look at this here, this is a picture of Megan McClung. She was in the United States Marine Corps. And she was, like J.D. Vance, a public affairs officer for the Marines. She was killed by an IED in Anbar, Iraq. And she is buried in our Arlington National Cemetery. So if you want to go ahead, Breonna Keeler, and try to pretend that being a public affairs officer in a war zone is not that big of a deal and not really experience, you're a piece of human garbage. And you need to apologize to Megan McClung, her family. You need to apologize to J.D. Vance. There's this idea that only the people, Breonna Keeler apparently believes only people who are shooting from a gun actively in a combat zone are in a combat zone. That's a bunch of crap. My father served in Vietnam. He was not, he did not shoot guns. But he was a medic, and he was right in the thick of things in northern South Vietnam and Da Nang. And it would be just as childish, just as gross, just as repugnant for her to say, oh, well, Paul Mercer wasn't, he was technically in Vietnam, but he wasn't in harm's way.
Right.
What a disgusting woman. This is absolutely vile, and CNN should fire her immediately. I find it disgusting. And the thing is that what Tim Walz was doing is playing fast and loose with the facts. He would protest and put up signs saying he's an Operation Enduring Freedom vet. And so everyone's like, oh, so you served in Afghanistan. He's like, I served during that time. It's like, right. So he was on a base in Italy so that other guys would go to Afghanistan. And then when it was his turn to go to Iraq, he quit. So he was never in a combat zone. Did he serve? Yes, he did. But he chickened out when his card was drawn and it was time to go. And then for Breonna Keeler, CNN, to make this attack is absolutely vile.
Right.
The stolen valor stuff's interesting, and it feels like out of all the attacks, it's hitting the hardest, because I've seen so many Democrats have to come out and be like, oh, he served his country honorably, how dare you, whatever. Like, when you're getting a response like that, it's working.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg was forced to come out
and say,
Buttigieg came out and said something. Republicans don't want to talk about real issues.
J.D. Vance is putting the screws.
It's not a real issue to lie about your service.
And actually,
lie about your rank.
That exact thing that you said, they just scrubbed from the website, from the Harris website. But I was reading someone's take on, like, it's such a bizarre, so many things are bizarre with the Tim Walz situation. One of them being, if you are in charge of your battalion or with your group and you train with them, you get ready for them, people are ready to deploy. Like, there's examples of people like saying they're not injured, or like basically just to go with their guys. Like, they've trained with them. They know they're going to a danger zone. To leave them, there's something wrong about that on a really deep level. Anyone in the military understands this. Like, these are your guys. These are the guys you're responsible for. So to leave is not just wrong, but also like anti-instinct. It's so bizarre to leave at a time like that when you know you're going to go into harm's ways with your guys. So Tim Walz feels weird.
Like Tony in the chat says, we might as well start calling Timmy AWOLs.
AWOLs, I like that.
Yeah, Tony's been big on that. Shout out Tony. He's back and forth with me on the email about the exact specifics of what was wrong about it. Basically, like he's lying about his title in a certain way. Like you have to be inactive in order to claim that title. And if you're not active, you no longer have the title that he's claiming to have. So it's working to get all these people to come out to basically say, no. And to even hit back on JD, who legitimately saw danger, is crazy talk. That like now somehow JD's the bad guy, even though he's the one that was under fire, literal fire. Right. And now you get the guy who leaves is kind of getting lionized. They know the attack's working,
so they want to attack JD. They know the message and the messenger are effective. So like, what are you going to do? They got to attack.
They have to go out.
Do what you got to do. That's an effective attack. I think the media, not talking to the media, is an effective attack. Like things I'm seeing responses for, I think they should really just keep the screws on. That's why I love seeing JD walk up to that plane. There's a great picture of him and like the entourage behind him. Exactly, right? Like that's what we need from a VP. We need a dog. We need a bulldog to go out there and start nipping where the energy is. So, yeah.
Yep.
Erika.
Good times. Hey, I have some good news. And I really wanted to find something good. We have a major win from Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty. They were involved in this lawsuit. So the Catholic Diocese of Charlotte here on the East Coast, they were sued by a substitute teacher who they let go when he entered into a same-sex marriage, because they have, for all diocesan employees, they ask all employees to conduct themselves in a manner consistent with church teaching. And this person, Lonnie Billard, who had taught English and drama at Charlotte Catholic High School for 12 years, he had signed that contract promising to uphold the teachings of the church. But in 2015, he entered into a same-sex so-called marriage. And when he was let go after being made aware that he had violated his contract, he partnered with the ACLU to sue the school and the diocese for asking their teachers. And this became a big battle. The diocese lost initially to a federal court district, ruled against the diocese. But Beckett helped the diocese to appeal the decision to the Fourth Circuit, and the Fourth Circuit ruled that, in fact, Roman Catholic dioceses can require their employees to follow the teachings of the Roman Catholic Church.
This is super standard. For context, like anyone that works at a Catholic school signs something like this.
There was a time, I would say there are probably Catholic dioceses in the country now where you do not have to sign something like this. Or if you do, it's not exactly, it's understood that it's just a formality. But right. This is something that is not discriminatory at all. It is everyone who signs up to teach for the Catholic schools there knows what they're agreeing to before they agree to it. And it is upheld equally across the board. And this guy didn't like it. He sued. And this is a victory for religious freedom in our country. So shout out to the Beckett Fund. Shout out to Charlotte.
It is a W. Here's the thing. It's worth recalling that the argument over this has already been settled by the Supreme Court. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, the Hosanna Tabor case that went during the Obama administration, came up with this new idea that, only the religious, only priests, ministers should be considered, exempt, from all these laws.
Right.
And that if you're teaching math at a Catholic school, then, and you're in a same-sex relationship or whatever, they can't fire you. And it's like, wait, what? I mean, like the Catholic Church should be able to say, we want all our teachers to abide by church teachings. And we won in this. I mean, it was actually a Lutheran school, Hosanna Tabor. We won that case 9-0 back in 2015 or whatever, 13, whenever it was. But here's the thing. I mean, of course, Father James Martin, the lefty who wants to attack Catholic Church teachings on everything, has used these cases to attack and pummel the church left and right. And he always kind of said, well, what about, why are we only singling out the gays on this? And it's like, okay, well, show me the Catholic school somewhere in the country where a teacher gets fired because he's got, he was in a polygamy and he's got 3 wives or something like that, and then he wasn't fired. Like, we don't care if Steve's got 3 wives. Like, no church is, no Catholic school is going to keep that guy. They're going to fire him. But it just hasn't happened. And it's like, what if you found out that like a Catholic school had a woman who was doing like pornography on the side, and the school's going to be like, we're going to fire her. It's like, so it's not like it's against gays. It's like anytime you're going to be against Catholic teaching, we're going to, and we're not, again, what's instructive about this is that the Catholic Church is not going out of its way. It's not trying to be Big Brother. They're not like a crack FBI unit that's like investigating all these people's lives. But if you publicly marry someone of the same sex, or if you do some pornography or something like that, like, hey, you got to stop this or you're not going to stay here anymore. I mean,
it's interesting.
Again,
Josh, we have a few people in the chat that say that they attended Charlotte Catholic High School, or their kids did.
No way.
Had Mr. Billard as a teacher. He was a wonderful teacher, but her kids understood what he chose. Definitely went against church teaching. Interesting. Shout out to Ralph. Hannah Webster said, shout out to her high school for winning the case. And I think that's kind of the point. Like, maybe what I'm thinking about in this is, if you're an adult and you're a teacher at a Catholic school, you sign that contract. It'd be one thing to be like, I understand, what's going on here, and so I'm going to step down. Like, I'm going to go teach somewhere. I understand what I'm doing is against what I signed. But I think it's another thing to then go, sign up with the ACLU. And I don't know if he was just taking bad advice.
Sue.
Right, exactly. Like, it's not just, it's one thing to just be like, I understand, I'm going to move on. I'm going to have to go somewhere different. It's, I need to go punish the school. I need to go make it hurt. Yeah. And it's like, that to me is kind of like, I don't even know if it's on this guy. Maybe he's a nice guy. Maybe someone gave him bad advice, said, go get a bag, go make your money. But to me, it's like, that shows no care for the school or the church.
It's not like, again, we're not talking about like suing an insurance company or suing a bank. This idea, this nameless corporation that's got a, stockpile of cash. We're talking about Catholic high schools. Like, these are not exactly, I mean, I'm not saying they're completely run by shoestring budgets, but as someone who involved with this stuff, I can tell you they do not, they're not flush with cash. And so it's harmful. And it would be really helpful if Father James Martin would stop encouraging these lawsuits against our schools. That would be very helpful.
It'd honestly be great if you just stopped being a priest, like if you just stepped down.
Or if he repented. It would be best if he converted to the Catholic faith. That would be the most helpful of all.
It'd be pretty sick if he just stepped down. That would be pretty awesome. That'd probably be my suggestion. All right, we finally get to talk what I want to talk about. I'm going to see if I can make it through some of these. If you saw, there's Waltz Mania after you were selected. And honestly, we've kind of gotten I think really we think about it, it's like, he's not the head of the ticket. We should really switch back to attacking Kamala Harris. But I think there's like a psychological point I need to prove here. So I've seen a ridiculous amount of fan fiction written about this guy, like a ridiculous amount online. It's crazy. So here's a couple examples. Tim Walz is the guy that mows your lawn when you break your leg. JD Vance is the guy who reports on your overgrown lawn to the HOA.
Yeah, total opposite.
That's the opposite.
Even though he had a snitch line. I don't know what to say. Next one. Tim Walz is the kind of guy who cuts your grass, brings a bag of groceries and a couple ready to heat casseroles, some chips, 6-pack of beer, and then hangs out unloading your dishwasher and chatting, then brings out bins from up on the curb on his way out. I think this person's just mad that their partner doesn't do any of these things. Like, these just kind of feel like projections at this point. Now, this one's, I think my personal, some were like genuinely too graphic to even put up here because they were sexual. Which is like, what are we doing here? So I'm not going to read those,
Again,
but this one's a good one.
Somebody on the left have mental disorders. It's crazy.
So, okay, here we go. Tim Waltz is my dad. Kamala's my fun aunt who lives next door. They just found out I'm being bullied by the shittiest kid in my class, pardon the French, JD. When they try and talk to his dad, Don, it becomes clear that he's the real problem. They go back to their car. Kamal's is what he's calling her. Pulls out her cop badge. Tim grabs his old baseball hat. They walk back to Don's porch. As Tim reaches for the doorbell, they look at each other and smile. This is going to be fun.
Oh my gosh. Is he serious? Is this serious?
That is a legitimate big account. Aaron Regenberg. He's like a legitimate big account on here. And post has been deleted, obviously, because it's weird. And then the next one that was going around is Tim Waltz is the dad an entire generation wished they had instead of the one they lost to Fox News. Now, my thoughts, okay?
Give us your thoughts, Pogo.
And someone said this well in a tweet, what? It's just it's always the people you expect probably don't have father figures in their lives or are you know what I mean? no normal person would think to even write this, or people spend too much time on Reddit or something. But it's very clear these people do not, like, people on the left that are writing these things probably don't have great men in their lives. So they need to like project what they wish they had on their leaders, almost like in a weird, I mean, you're the psychology, Erika, you know, your husband, but I don't know if you can psychologize.
I'm happy to psychologize.
They just wish they had a good dad. So they're like, our political leaders need to be that to me. And then someone, and I want to give her credit because I just started following her on Twitter. She's really good. Katrina Hutchins at Bad Trad Mom said, worth noting that the left writes fan fiction about their VP pick who has an insanely radical record, while the right wrings their hands over a comfortably conservative VP choice for stating something fundamentally true without 10 qualifying pre-apologies.
That's right.
And that's how I feel. I'm like, we got everyone apologizing left and right for JD for saying things in context that have been clipped out of context and used as an attack. And we have people literally like doing weird sexual fanfics about Tim Walz, who put tampons in boys' bathrooms and wants to talk about 10-year-olds, their gender with 10-year-olds is like crazy talk. What are we doing here? What are, Erika, give me the...
What are we doing? Oh, you want an answer?
Give me the psychologize this, please, because I'm trying to understand it. I don't get it at all.
Yeah, no, it's not to get too dark here, but like I did this interview with this guy named Dr. Quentin Van Meter about the whole trans LGBT thing and sort of his experience as a doctor with people who are kind of sold on this ideology, this gender ideology. And he said, without exception, every family who has come through his clinic and his office who are, again, like sold on all this crazy ideology, every single one of them has issues with the dad figure. Every single one of them is broken. And I think that there is a lot of truth. I mean, and we know that people from these sorts of, bad situations, that they do try to make up for it later in life. Like you never get over your parents' divorce. You never get over a bad father relationship. So I'm not going to like psychologize Ron Fournier or this other guy that you just read, but it is weird. Like there's no way around it. The word of the week, weird.
What's up, Josh?
I can tell you from experience, especially when in Minneapolis or the surrounding areas, anytime I go to like a kids park, like kids just like come up to me out of nowhere. Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? And like, I look like a safe dad or safe grandpa. And they're like, hey, he looks nice. I'm like, oh, what is your name? I mean, it is ridiculous. Like dozens. It's like, this is like the weirdest thing. It's this phenomenon. Like,
you're a guy's guy and they like see that. And yeah, it happens to my husband too. All the kids want to play Monster with him because he takes my kids to the park, right? And he plays Monster, right? Because it's fun. So he's chasing after his own children.
Total dad move.
Like roaring and they're screaming, scary monster, scary monster. And he's like, inevitably within 20 minutes, every child at that park is running after me, screaming scary monster. And it's like, it's a little weird.
We need barbecue dads to go to blue states.
I need a thesaurus.
Yeah. Just to help them out.
Help them out so they don't have to glom onto Tim Walz. Like, guys, if you're going to pick a dad figure, don't pick Tim Walz, please. Like, go after find Tim Carney online. He could be your dad.
Please.
I like Tim.
Or
Mercer.
Your own dad, hopefully.
I know.
Okay, so I want to spite Josh here because he's making fun of me for the email thing. Now, I've just been kind of quietly laughing about this for a little while because I'm just thinking about how frustrating this must be. But so we have someone that emailed in frustrated that we use a certain phrase to describe crazy liberal women. Do you know what phrase or term I'm referring to?
Cat lady stuff?
Oh, the childless cat ladies?
That one won, and I really appreciate that someone sent it, and I sent back like the full clip where he gives all the stipulations for people struggling with infertility, whatever, and just how it's kind of a selectively edited, used attack. Not that one, a different one. Crazy liberal women. First, it's one name. First name starts with a K.
Karen's?
Yes. So I got an email saying like, please stop using that term to describe, liberal women. And her name was Karen. And I was like, could you imagine how frustrating that would be to get a God-given name and then to have a cultural phenomenon basically wrap around it at a certain time in your life, and now all of a sudden it's synonymous with being crazy. I was just like, I
just ask the Monicas of the world how it was like during the Clinton administration.
No, dude.
Although, actually, interestingly enough, they do this. Okay, so the Social Security Administration tracks the popularity of baby names. They do this every year, and they do the trends over decades.
I love those.
And they found 3 names that found massive significant spoilage, where for whatever reason they were no longer popular names. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here's a little quiz for you. What are these 3 names? Okay, how about this? I'll give you 2 of the top 3 names, and you have to come up with a third name. We're talking about names that became spoiled. They became so unpopular that moms and dads we don't want to name our kid this. Okay. So of the 3 names, and I'll let you guys guess what number 1 is. Adolf was not the number 1 name, by the way, but that was a name that was popular amongst German immigrants in the early 1900s. And then obviously Mr. Hitler made that a little bit unpopular.
That's tough.
So no, that name went.
Yeah.
Another name, Ebenezer.
That was a real popular name at one point.
With the popularity of Scrooge,
Christmas Carol,
that's pretty sick. Actually, I'm down to get Ebenezer back. That's cool.
Ebenezer.
So I think Ebenezer was 3, Adolf was 2. But what name actually got spoiled? It was climbing. It was becoming more and more popular, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, a very obvious reason, this name tanked faster, harder, worse than the name Adolf.
What year did it tank?
Yeah.
The early 1990s.
Early 1990s.
Saddam?
Nope.
That's a good guess.
Thanks. George?
It's a girl's name.
A girl's name. Well,
are you saying Monica? Did you already bury the lead?
No,
Janet?
Okay. Monica.
Janet. Karen.
No.
Brittany?
Okay. Nope. I give up.
Yeah, we give up.
Hillary.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just so happened that the first lady of the United States in 1893 was named Hillary Clinton.
And she was not
this future president
popular.
And the name popularity, which has been climbing since the 60s.
Oh man. Brutal.
But if I could just make a on the podcast statement to all the Karens listening to this program.
Yeah.
And I think the one that I was emailing listens on the podcast, so you get this after. When we say that, we obviously are not talking about you because you listen to the Loopcast. You're well educated, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're not liberal at all, you're not crazy. Like if you listen to the Loopcast as a Karen, you get washed of the connotations. And then Tony brought up in the chat that the name Brandon also at a certain period of time must have been pretty tough. So
a little bit, but not as much as Karen. And Karen was a huge thing for about 2-3 years there. I try not to use it. I try to describe these affluent white female liberals as awful.
Mm-hmm. The awfuls, isn't it?
Awfuls. I like Harpy.
It's like WASP kind of.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll refrain from Karen, but we're obviously not talking about you. All the Karens that listen to the Loopcast, you guys are off the hook. So this is a fun Friday show. Erika, you're off to vacation. Yeah. It's going to be a nice.
I am. I'm so excited
week for you. Shout out to everyone joining the chat, man. We had a lively chat today. Lots of guesses on the name. Lots of Hillarys in there. Good guesses, guys. Thank you guys for joining. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday on YouTube. You can come hang out with us, hang out in the chat, have a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone listening on podcast too. You guys can leave reviews. Apple Podcasts. Is that your baby, Erika?
Was that? No. Whose baby is that?
Whose baby is that? I don't know. Someone's baby.
Wow.
We got to end the show before we don't know whose baby that is.
Maybe I had another one. I'm not sure. What's happening?
But yeah, enjoy, guys. If you want to help us out, become a champion. That is the lifeblood of everything we do. You can do that at catholicvote.org/champion. And yeah, St. Thomas More, Our Lady Guadalupe, St. Fidelis, pray for us. And we'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.